Hello, I'm Rob Phillips, and welcome to my channel, where I teach you how to live a more balanced and present life through yoga and meditation. Today we're going to be doing a practice where we really explore the concept of equanimity. Now, in the last week or so, I released a video on this topic where I got a little deeper into the philosophy, a little bit deeper into the theory. So I highly recommend checking that out either before or after this practice. If you haven't yet, don't worry, you can follow along here. I'm going to give a nice introduction to some of the concepts that go with this. In terms of props for today, I'm going to recommend having a blanket, a couple of blocks, and whenever you're ready to get started, let's find our way into a comfortable seat, maybe sitting up on top of that blanket. Take your time, find a posture that makes sense. That could be cross-legged, that could be kneeling. You can rest our hands onto the knees or onto the lap. And typically when I start practice, I recommend closing the eyes, but for today, if you want to try something a little different, we can actually practice with our eyes open. And that will make sense once I start to talk a bit about some of the themes we're exploring. But to begin, whether our eyes are open, whether our eyes are closed, really start to feel that sense of softening. Really start to feel that sense of landing and relaxing. And begin to notice how you're feeling today. Begin to really feel that sense of the body, sense of the breath. Really connect with that as it is. So this concept, this word, equanimity, in essence means connecting with all of the aspects of our experience, whether they're pleasant or challenging, whether they're neutral, and really receiving them all equally here. Trying to let go of some of our conditioned reactions or conditioned patterns towards them. So as we settle into our meditation here for just another minute or so, can you really notice some aspect of what we feel, maybe more pleasant? So maybe a little bit more challenging, create a little bit of friction or resistance. Most of what we will experience will be more or less neutral, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So as you connect with all of this, can you really relax? Can you really soften and settle? Taking in our experience as it is, but not getting stuck in a strong sense of reaction, not trying to control or manipulate our experience. Opening up to things just as they are here. Finding that deep, unbiased connection here in each moment. Let's take a final gentle inhale breath right here. Open up your mouth, exhale, let it out, drop the chin down. And if you did have your eyes closed, now would be a good time just to open them, help yourself transition. Coming up, we can relax the shoulders. Let's extend our legs for a few seconds. Let them relax, let them release. Our first posture for the main sequence today is going to be a wide-kneed version of our child's pose. So here, I do really recommend having a blanket to set yourself up on. You can open it up nice and wide, fold it over a second time, make it even a little bit thicker. If you don't have a blanket, you could roll up a yoga mat or just use anything to give your knees a bit of cushion, because usually having them on like a hard floor is not the most comfortable thing. So setting up towards child's pose with the knees wide enough that you feel some release, that you feel some sensation forming onto the inner line of your thighs. Never setting up in such a way that what we feel is sharp or intense. And I'll mention that I'm intentionally keeping my chest a little lifted so that I don't completely crush my mic, but if you're practicing at home, let the chest drop down as far as is comfortable. Find whatever placement of this seems reasonable for your body today. As we start the physical practice, a very important point because you're going to hear me talk a lot about relaxing, settling through that which is unpleasant. Use words like opening up to things that are challenging. I want to be completely clear that that does not mean that we ignore pain in the body. It does not mean that we ignore stronger sensations, anything that we feel might be harming us. So if you feel anything at all like that show up in your experience, you're going to want to adjust. You're going to want to move. It's important to understand that equanimity doesn't mean numbing ourselves. It doesn't mean ignoring warning signals that are telling us that something needs to change. So treat your body kindly here, work with it carefully, and you'll get the benefits of this practice. Just be careful, especially if you're newer to working in this way. But of course, with that word of caution being put out there, assuming that we do feel safe in the pose, assuming that what we're noticing is not too much, not aggressive, try to open up to that. Try to really settle and connect with the whole of this experience. Notice where we're feeling the sensations in the body. Notice as well how the mind, the nervous system are responding from the time that we're spending here. And invite yourself to really relax, to really open up to all of these different types of sensations. Whether they're more challenging, whether they're more pleasant or neutral. Can we see them all as equals? Can we be with the full spectrum of our experience without the need to control, without that need to resist or push back? Feel that here for a few more moments, just a few more slow breaths. Take your final breath here. Feel the body, feel the pose as they are. And then very gradually start to extend and give the legs a little break. So we're going to release all the way forwards here onto our belly. You might leave your blanket in place or you can scoot it out of the way. It doesn't really matter. Either way, find your way onto the floor and feel this relaxation. And again, I'm intentionally keeping my head lifted, but I encourage you to relax completely. Just really settle onto the floor here. How is the body responding in this moment? You may find that maybe there's more pleasant sensations, that kind of soothing, cooling afterglow that we get when we leave these poses. Can we connect with that? Can we really tune into that experience without getting stuck in it? Without closing off against it. Again, trying to see everything with kind of an equal footing here. Meeting our experience rather than getting swept up away by it. Here as you are, you can take a nice long inhale breath through your nose. And a nice long exhale breath out your mouth. From here, we're going to press our hips back. You can pass briefly through like a child's pose. From here now, we're going to really start to get into things. So we're going to set up for our dragon pose, low lunge pose. If you watched my equanimity video, or if you go to watch it later, I do mention this as a specific pose where we can really work with some of what I'm talking about today. So I do recommend padding your knees with a blanket. Blocks could be helpful. If you don't have blocks, you can certainly, work without it perhaps. Just be kind to your body, just respect your body, as I keep coming back to here. So from here, you're gonna step your right foot forward, finding that nice deep low lunge. From here, you wanna be conscious that you're not overly compressing your back kneecap, and you may find that you need to shift your weight a little bit to maintain that safety. For today, I'm going to invite a slight variation of this that we sometimes call wandering dragon, because we're going to wander our chest a little bit over to the left, so kind of off the side of our mat. As you make this transition, just notice how that shifts where you feel the effects of the pose, and you can stay here. You could consider coming down to the elbows. Play with this. You'll notice where you distribute the weight will really affect where you feel the sensations of the pose, so try to align so that you're in that nice sweet spot. And I say sweet, somewhat tongue-in-cheek. There's going to be some challenge here, but make sure it's not too much. Make sure you're completely confident that you're not harming the body by being here. And so as we start to work with this pose, as I've said, there will be some challenge here. Most of us have tight hips in some way. Most people find balancing the level of effort in this pose to be a little bit challenging. To practice with equanimity means to be aware of this. We're noticing where there's challenge. We're noticing really everything that's showing up. And allowing ourselves to relax and to soften through that experience. Inviting ourselves to not get stuck, to not get closed off within this either. Sensations will come and go. But to practice with equanimity means to allow that process to happen while releasing our need to control it. Becoming deeply aware, yet completely at ease within that awareness. Can you find that here? Can you feel that in this somewhat challenging pose for just these next few breaths? Let's take a final complete breath here like we are. Now from here, we're going to slowly rise up if you did drop down low. Walk the torso to face more forwards if you walk to the side, assuming you did. And from here is just a brief counter shape on our way out. Let's rock the hips back and straighten that right leg and just take a few breaths where you're kind of folding over the back line of that leg. Obviously, how much or little you do this will depend on your body. You just want to feel some amount of stretch, some amount of release on the back of that leg. And we'll just be here for a few more breaths. This is kind of a transition pose, not a full-length hold or anything like that. You can start to find your way forwards. As you come forwards here, you can release your right leg back, move, sway the hips, really anything at all that feels good. And from here, let's come to settle. Come to rest in child's pose, or really any pose that's comfortable, to let the body bounce back, to let the body reset here. And as you linger in this transition, just noticing again, have things shifted into kind of a more pleasant phase? Is there naturally less resistance, less challenge here? Can you meet this experience with that same calm clarity, that same awareness without a biased reaction to it? Just being with whatever's arising, just connecting with it as it is. Let's take a gentle inhale breath through the nose. Gentle exhale breath out the mouth. From here, we're going to start to find our way up and set up for the second side. And I invite you just to notice as we make this transition, how did you respond to this moment? Was there a sense of wanting to linger in that resonance pose, a sense of dreading, not looking forward to the second side? That would be an example of the attachment to the pleasant. That's the kind of conditioned reaction we have, is we want to hold on to or kind of get stuck in our more pleasant parts of our experience. So set up your second dragon, and again, make sure that the back kneecap isn't compressed, make sure that that left knee is over the heel. And once you've got your base in place, I invite you to walk any amount over to the right, coming into that wandering dragon, and just notice how that shift is going to allow you to target maybe some different aspect of your hips. Maybe you'd like to come down onto your elbows here. Set up in a way that feels reasonable, knowing this is, for most of us, going to be a stronger pose, but it should not be harmful. I've said that a bunch of times, but it's the most important thing here, I think. We always want to be safe in our practice. And when we're safe, we can really work with all the things I'm talking about today. So just noticing, as you feel this pose, of course, there will be some stronger sensations, maybe some areas where there's some friction, a bit more challenge. But perhaps can you notice what might be more neutral here, not pleasant or unpleasant? For example, notice the contact with the earth beneath you. Notice the weight of your clothing on the body. If we really pay attention in almost any moment, I would say, the dominating factor is going to be neutral sensation. It's just that normally our mind filters that level out. But when we practice deep mindfulness, when we work with exploring these kind of deeper levels of things, we can start to tune into the things that we would normally tune out. All of the neutral aspects as well. So really see if you can sit with that here for a few more moments. Take just a few more nice deep breaths. Opening up to the full spectrum of what's arising for you here. Let's take a final complete breath as we are. You can slowly start to rise up if you're down low and walk the chest to face much more forwards now. And like we did on the first side, I'm going to have just this brief counter pose where we rock the hips back and just kind of fold over straight left leg. And I say straight knowing that it doesn't need to be perfectly straight, but you're just trying to lengthen. You're trying to kind of release that back line of the leg a little bit, and just a few breaths, maybe slightly deeper breaths. Connect here, be here for these next few moments. Good, now let's slowly start to shift and find our way out. You can come forwards, Take a moment, release your left leg, sway the hips, any little movements you'd like to kind of even everything out. And then once you've taken care of that, let's shift and let's find our way all the way forwards onto our belly. So as always, you could like pad yourself or just kind of clear runway here, but one way or another. Make your way forwards onto the floor. And again, I'm keeping a little bit of space, but I want you to completely relax any comfortable position here. And take a few deep breaths. Notice again, often that shift into the more pleasant, that kind of nice afterglow that we get. As I invited you though on that dragon pose a minute ago here, can we notice the many neutral things? Mostly I've been talking about the body, but often sounds are neutral. That kind of background noise, not pleasant or unpleasant. If we're practicing with open eyes, visual field tends to be neutral, just kind of there, not pleasant or unpleasant. Sit with that here for just a few more moments. Take just a few more deep breaths. And just to reset here, let's find a gentle inhale breath through our nose. A gentle exhale breath out our mouth. From here on our belly, we're going to set ourselves up into a sphinx shape. So rising up onto our elbows, lifting up into the chest. You can absolutely adapt this in whatever way feels right for your body. So the intended target is especially the lower back, but a little bit into the chest and the shoulders. Definitely a place to be careful if you have a story going on with your spine. If you feel anything at all sharp, be careful with that. Try to align yourself in a way that feels natural, that makes sense, and then let yourself settle. Let yourself relax and land into this experience. And from here on out, for these final few poses, I'm going to be a little more quiet, a little less specific instruction. But maintaining an invitation to really notice all that I've been talking about. Feel the pleasant, the challenging, the neutral, everything that shows up for you here. See if you can meet all of that experience as equal. Letting go of our normal, conditioned reactions to things. Notice how that shift of intention will affect how the practice unfolds for you. And keep relaxing, keep letting go. But keep connected. Maintain that awareness here. Let's take one more breath like we are. Slowly begin to relax and just release down. As you release down, take some nice deep breaths across the spine, across the shoulders, and just invite some energy to move through all of those areas that we were just targeting. And feel the shift of the quality of your experience. Notice how things are always changing. No two moments are the same if we really pay attention, if we really tune into them. From here, we're going to transition and we're going to find our way onto our back. So I might encourage you just to keep it simple. You can roll yourself over in place here. Just kind of flip everything around. And as you lie down, I'm going to encourage you to draw the knees just into the chest and make like a cannonball type shape and take a few breaths here just to kind of continue releasing your lower back. Just making that little bit of extra space after the longer back bend that we just finished. And we'll just be here for a few breaths really. Just take one more complete breath as we are. Slowly release the legs, lower them down. I'm going to recommend having your feet planted and your knees bent. We're going to be setting up for our twists in just a few moments here, but first just kind of relax, even do like a little sway, loosen everything up, free everything up. Now from here, we're going to take a pair of twists on our back, and I'm going to recommend keeping it fairly simple. So to set this up, what you're going to do is draw your knees into the chest. Again, that similar kind of cannonball type shape. From there, you can begin to exhale and roll your legs over to the right-hand side, and you'll find as you go along here that you may need to fine-tune. Feel free to separate the knees a bit, understanding that for most bodies, they won't make it all the way to the floor, at least they both probably won't. So please don't try and force them down. I do, in general, recommend keeping the shoulders relaxed here. You can turn your head either way, but feel this nice release on the left side body. Nice being the key word. Shouldn't feel forceful, shouldn't feel overly intense at all. Once you found that alignment, we relax, we release, and we open up to the full spectrum of our experience. And we practice with equanimity. We don't get stuck in our conditioned reactions. We meet our experience just as it is, again and again here. Take just one more breath right here. And slowly draw the legs back into the middle. And on your way here, I encourage you just to shift, move back and forth a little bit, just kind of release. And we'll take a very short pause in the middle, just a few breaths, but feel as the spine neutralizes, feel as everything settles right here. ready for it, we'll of course do our second side. So you can gently draw the knees into the chest, slowly roll the legs over to the left side. And with the right shoulder relaxed on the floor, and everything I said on the first side is of course true here as well. Find just that right edge of sensation. Try not, or please definitely don't force the legs down to the floor. Just let them move as far as they naturally do and adjust as you need to. So this feels relatively comfortable on the body, certainly not too much on the body. And then as you relax, as you settle, notice and connect with the full experience as it is here. Invite that sense of equanimity, that sense of calm, clear awareness in each moment. Let's take one more breath right here like we are. Carefully begin to draw the knees back into the middle. As they draw in, take a few moments to shift and to release, just to balance out the two sides. Any final little movements you might like here. From here, setting up when you're ready for it for a final Shavasana, final neutral pose. So you can just extend your way out onto the floor. Arms out a bit, legs a little wide. Of course, set this up so that you feel comfortable. Set this up so that you can drop in for these final few minutes. Close your eyes and just scan the whole body here from head to toe. Feel what you've shifted, feel what you've released. And I'd really encourage you for these final few minutes to not control the mind. We're not doing this equanimity practice anymore. More so, we're just resting in this experience. Just kind of being with things after doing all the deep work that we did. So let's take a nice deep inhale breath through the nose. Open up your mouth, exhale, let absolutely everything out. Here, resting in quiet, resting in stillness, and just giving the whole mind-body system a brief pause to integrate all of the work that we've just done. So just resting here on your back as you are here for a few more moments. Really feel what's shifted, really feel what's settled through that time. And just begin to introduce some movements, begin to get things going again little by little. And when you'd like to, you can draw in your knees and slowly roll over onto your side. And from there, you can gently press your way up into a comfortable seated position. And just close your eyes for a few moments. Feeling the full effects of practice, feeling this way of working with equanimity in each moment. How that's shifted things for you, how that's changed your relationship here with your experience. Let's join the hands in front of the heart. Thank you as always for sharing your practice. It's truly an honor to teach. As we say, the light within me salutes the light within you. Namaste. Once again, thank you so very much for joining today. And as always, if you have any thoughts or questions, do let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't yet, please consider giving this video a like. Please consider subscribing to my channel because it's one of the best ways to help me grow and prosper here on YouTube. A couple other little details. I have begun a regular newsletter, and in that newsletter I'll share some insights, share some thoughts about yoga beyond what I'm able to teach in these classes. Highly encourage you to sign up for that down below. I'll put a link for it. And otherwise, follow me on social media, follow me on my other channels because I'm really upping the amount of content that I'm putting out, and I'm so excited to share it with all of you. But otherwise, thank you so much again, and have a good rest of your day.